Right now, Google is sitting on the biggest business blunder of the decade, and nobody's talking about it. While everyone focuses on AI and search engine drama, Google quietly fumbled away $200 billion in market value. Not because they built a bad product, not because they lost to a competitor, but because they made one fatal decision that destroyed the most valuable digital real estate on the internet. I'm talking about YouTube. And the mistake wasn't selling it. It was what they refused to let it become. When Google acquired YouTube in 2006 for $1.65 billion, everyone thought they overpaid. But that turned out to be the deal of the century. YouTube became the second most visited website on Earth. Over 2 billion monthly active users. More watch time than Netflix and Disney Plus combined. And here's the number that'll blow your mind. YouTube processes 500 hours of video uploaded every single minute. In this video, I'm revealing the one strategic decision that destroyed $200 billion in value, why Wall Street analysts saw it coming in 2013, but Google ignored them, and the exact pattern you're probably repeating in your own business right now. Let's start with what most people get wrong, because once you see the real numbers, you'll never look at YouTube the same way again. Here's what Google should have done from day one, and why the missed opportunity is so painful it's almost criminal. Think about what YouTube could have become if it operated independently. A subscription tier launched in 2010 could have captured 50 million premium subscribers by now at $15 per month. That's $9 billion in annual recurring revenue with 80% margins. Compare that to advertising at 30% margins. But it gets better. YouTube could have built a licensing business like Spotify, paying creators advances for exclusive content. They could have created a production studio financing original content like Netflix. They could have launched YouTube Commerce, turning product mentions into direct purchases with a 15% take rate. They could have built a tipping system for live streams years before Twitch made it standard. Want to know the crazy part? Every single one of these revenue streams exists now, but they launched 5 to 10 years too late. YouTube Premium didn't launch until 2018, YouTube TV in 2017, Super Chat in 2017, and YouTube Shopping is still barely functional in 2025. If YouTube had moved on these opportunities at market speed instead of Google speed, we're talking about an additional $15 to $20 billion in annual revenue from non-advertising sources. At a $60 billion valuation multiple, that's $300 billion in market cap sitting on the table. Why didn't this happen? Because YouTube had to operate within Google's structure and get approval from Google's leadership, who were primarily focused on protecting the search advertising business. Every opportunity that might cannibalize Google's ad revenue got blocked or delayed. But here's the part that should terrify every Google shareholder. And this is where the real $200 billion mistake lives. YouTube's creator ecosystem is becoming ungovernable, and when it breaks, it'll break fast. Right now, hundreds of thousands of creators depend on YouTube revenue, but they have no voice in platform decisions, no equity, no board representation, no protection from arbitrary policy changes. Think about that. The people who create 100% of YouTube's value own 0% of the platform. Compare this to how modern platforms are evolving: TikTok creator funds, Substack equity for writers, Roblox revenue sharing for developers. The future of platforms is shared ownership with creators. Google's structure makes this impossible for YouTube. Here's what keeps me up at night. If a well-funded competitor launches a creator-owned video platform tomorrow with transparent revenue sharing and actual equity stakes, YouTube could face an exodus that makes the Vine shutdown look like nothing. And because YouTube is buried inside Google, they can't pivot fast enough to compete. MrBeast alone generates more annual views than the entire population of Earth. Imagine if he and the top 100 creators decided to move to a platform where they actually owned a piece. YouTube would lose 30% of its views overnight. and the cascade effect would destroy the platform within 18 months. This isn't speculation. We've seen it happen. When Mixer offered exclusive deals to top streamers, Twitch lost 20% market share in 6 months. YouTube is more vulnerable than Twitch ever was because YouTube's creator dependency is 10 times deeper. Now let me show you how Google created this mess in the first place. When YouTube first started printing money, Google made a choice. They decided to treat YouTube revenue as part of Google's overall advertising business. Same sales team, same ad products, same revenue recognition. On paper, this looked efficient. Why build separate infrastructure when you can leverage Google's existing ad dominance? But this decision had a hidden cost that nobody calculated. By bundling YouTube into Google Ads, they commoditized YouTube's inventory. Advertisers started treating YouTube pre-roll ads the same way they treated Google Display Network ads. Same bidding system, same performance metrics, same perceived value. This is insane when you think about it. Actually, it's worse than insane. It's criminal. A YouTube ad isn't a banner ad. It's not a search result. It's premium video content with captive attention on the world's second-largest website. YouTube delivers better targeting, better engagement, and better measurement than television. But here's what they're getting paid. Television advertising CPMs run between $20 to $30. YouTube's average CPM, $7 to $10. YouTube is delivering superior performance at 1/3 the price. That gap? That's not just money left on the table. That's $200 billion in destroyed shareholder value. And nobody at Google seems to care because it all gets buried in their consolidated advertising revenue. How did YouTube let this happen? Because they couldn't price independently. They had to use Google's programmatic pricing model. They had to compete for budget within Google's sales organization. They had to fit into Google's financial reporting structure. An independent YouTube would have positioned itself as premium video inventory commanding premium rates. Instead, Google turned it into another commodity ad product. Now, before you think I'm just making this up, let me show you who saw this coming years ago. In 2013, several Wall Street analysts published reports suggesting Google should spin off YouTube as a separate public company. They calculated YouTube's standalone value at $50 to $70 billion at the time. Google's response? Complete silence. They didn't even address the analysis. Why? Because spinning off YouTube would have exposed how much of Google's growth was actually coming from YouTube, not from search advertising. It would have revealed that Google's core search business was plateauing while YouTube was carrying the company's growth story. So instead of unlocking YouTube's full value for shareholders, Google kept it buried in their consolidated financials. And here's what that cost them. If YouTube had been spun off in 2013 at a $70 billion valuation and grown at the same rate as Netflix over the next decade, it would be worth over $400 billion today. Add that to Google's current market cap without YouTube's revenue, and shareholders would have been sitting on an additional $200 billion in value. Every major tech company that acquired a breakthrough platform learned this lesson. Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion and let it operate independently. The result? Instagram is now worth over $100 billion. Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26 billion and kept its separate identity. LinkedIn's value tripled. Google did the opposite. They absorbed YouTube into the Google mothership, forced it to use Google's ad infrastructure, Google's policies, Google's corporate bureaucracy, and in doing so, they capped YouTube's ceiling. And look, if you're starting to see how these strategic mistakes compound over time, you need to subscribe to this channel. I break down billion-dollar business failures like this every week so you can learn from them without making them yourself. Drop a comment and tell me what shocked you most about Google's handling of YouTube. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Google buying YouTube was brilliant. How they've managed YouTube since then has been catastrophic. And the biggest cost isn't what we can measure in today's dollars. It's the innovation that never happened because YouTube couldn't move independently. Think about the features YouTube was slow to launch. Live streaming came years after Twitch proved the market. Shorts launched years after TikTok dominated vertical video. Premium subscriptions came years after Netflix proved the model. Every single delay happened because YouTube had to operate at Google's pace, get approval from Google's leadership, and fit within Google's risk tolerance. Now here's where this gets personal for anyone watching. The mistake Google made with YouTube is the same mistake most people make with their highest value assets. They absorb them into existing structures instead of letting them grow independently. If you're an entrepreneur, this is the partnership that slowly takes over your company. If you're an employee, this is the corporate job that caps your income potential. If you're an investor, this is the diversified portfolio that prevents any position from creating real wealth. The pattern is always the same. You find something valuable, then you immediately constrain it by forcing it into your existing system. And in doing so, you destroy the exponential potential. Google could have treated YouTube like Alphabet treats Waymo, Verily, and DeepMind, independent companies with their own leadership and strategy. Instead, YouTube became just another product in the Google portfolio. And here's the brutal truth. It's probably too late to fix it now. YouTube is so deeply integrated into Google's infrastructure that separating it would be like removing a vital organ. The dependencies run too deep. The shared systems are too embedded. The corporate politics are too entrenched. So Google will continue operating YouTube as a high-revenue, medium-value asset when it should be their crown jewel. And investors will never see the full value creation that was possible. Remember this: when you have something truly valuable, the worst thing you can do is make it comfortable. The moment you integrate it into your existing structure, you cap its ceiling. And in a world of exponential opportunities, a capped ceiling is the same as guaranteed mediocrity. The $200 billion Google mistake wasn't buying YouTube. It wasn't selling YouTube. It was making YouTube just another Google product instead of letting it become the most valuable media company in history. If that hits different, watch this video next here, because the patterns we just discussed about asset value and structural limitations apply to every part of your financial life.